A little bit progress each day adds up to big results, says a Saudi businessman Jamil. And every one of us are here to get an idea of seeking the progress in our career in a better way. Welcome to each and everyone to the inauguration function of Masterclass 2019. The Myra School of Business is an innovatively designed business school established in the year 2012 under the aegis of Mysore Royal Academy. Myra is a boutique business school with global perspectives, offering a unique learning ecosystem with unparalleled international faculty, preparing students for a trajectory of functional, general management, and leadership goals in a rapidly evolving business field. Myra School of Business helps students grow as leaders and create value for themselves, their organization, and society. Myra's tagline, Global Starts Here, addresses its competencies such as global partnership, global faculty, global exposure, and global recognition. Masterclass is one of its kind immersion program that lets aspirants gain an insider insight into the life of an MBA at Myra. This, being a 2-day immersion program, gives you an opportunity to attend classes of Myra's faculties and network with miracles, be it to assess your fit for our program or to explore if an MBA is right for you. Myra's Masterclass immersion gives you the information needed for your decision making. I now call upon Anjana and Vidya to welcome the gathering. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everyone present here and welcome to Myra. I, Vidyashree of PGDM1,
I, Anjana KS of PGDM1,
are here to welcome the gathering and introduce our guest for the day. Firstly, I'd like to welcome Mr. Srihari Palangala, Senior Director and Head of Marketing at Dell EMC. He has spent around 17 years working with technology products in various roles, including business development, consulting, and marketing across the US, India, and Asia Pacific. Prior to Dell EMC, he was engaged with organizations like VMLogix, Adobe India, Microsoft India, and OpNet Technologies. He holds a master's degree in computer science from Arizona State University and an MBA from the Indian School of Business. As a marketing expert, he actively engages with the ecosystem, offering workshops and online sessions through NASSCOM and angel networks to various audiences. Mr. Srihari is the recipient of the India's Greatest CMO 2016 and 17 by AsiaOne's India's Greatest Brands and Leaders, and leading CMO of the Year 2017 by Enterprise IT Leadership Awards. Mr. Srihari is also recognized at Dell WorldWide as among the top marketing inspiring leaders in the organization in 2018. Sir, on behalf of the college, I welcome you to Myra. Now, I would like to welcome and introduce our Dean, Dr. Sudhindra Seshadri. He has served as faculty at leading US and Asian management schools such as R.H. Smith B School at the University of Merlin, IIM Bangalore, Indian School of Business, and Singapore Management University. He conducts research on business marketing strategies, has served on doctoral research committees, and has taught marketing courses at all levels. Among a variety of academic administration responsibilities he has led, ISB's Executive Education as Associate Dean, IIMB's Executive Programs as Chairperson, IIMB's Marketing Area as Chairperson, and Society for Global Business and Economic Development as Conferences Vice President. He holds a Bachelor degree of Technology from IIT Kanpur and a PhD in Business Administration from the Smeal School at Pennsylvania State University, USA. Sir, on behalf of the college, I'd like to welcome you. Thank you.
Now let's welcome Dr. Prakash Nair, who Associate Dean of Student Affairs, has 30 years of experience that includes management and leadership roles in both industry and academy. He teaches courses in management, OB, leadership, design thinking, and research methodology. Before Myra, he was the Associate Vice President at Infosys. He started his career in sales and worked for over 9 years in managing various sales functions in a multinational company. He was the head of company's direct sales division. In US, he worked for Texas A&M University for about 10 years in various teaching, training, and OB roles. He is a PhD holder from Texas A&M University, USA, in Educational Human Resource Development. He completed an executive education program in global leadership from Stanford University. He owes a certification of teaching influence based on work of the famous social scientist Professor Robert Cialdini's 6 Principles of Persuasion. He has a certification in faculty teaching and instruction by the Center of Teaching Excellence, Texas A&M University. He also has a certification in charismatic leadership and certificates in leadership and business from Mace B School, USA. He has presented paper in many international forums in the area of OB, leadership and training, and has co-authored articles in journals such as Journal of Personality and Individual Difference, Journal of Leadership and Organization Development, etc. Sir, on behalf of students, we welcome you. Now let's welcome Mr. Sanjay Vrinave. Sanjay sir, the Director, Marketing and Corporate Partnership at Myra. Prior to joining Myra, Sanjay sir has had 35 years of corporate experience where he has held positions such as President of Sales, Tulip, CEO of Mistral Incorporated, Country Manager and Chief Strategy Officer of Acer Incorporated, handling the entire APAC region. Sanjay sir is a mentor for students at Myra, guiding them in corporate immersions and entrepreneurial ventures. He is on the board of several startups and is a startup advisor for Government of Jharkhand. He is an economic graduate from Delhi School of Economics and has an MBA from IMT Ghaziabad. He has also completed his executive education from IIM Ahmedabad and holds a honorary doctorate from University of Delaware, USA. Sir, on behalf of students, we welcome you. Now I would like to welcome Professor Kiran Kumar. He is a BTech graduate in Electrical Engineering from IIT Kharagpur and a PGDM holder in Marketing and System from IIM Bangalore. He is a senior executive with a wealth of diverse work experience across reputed organizations such as TCS, Infosys, and PwC, delivering information services to Fortune 500 customers across the globe. His strengths have been in building and managing large IT delivery programs for customers. He also comes with in-depth knowledge of IT consulting, pre-sales, and quality management. In recent years, his focus has been in the area of business intelligence, analytics, and automation. In addition to this, Professor has been contributing to academic field as a visiting faculty teacher at Amrita School of Business and Manipal Global Academy of Data Science. On behalf of Myra, we welcome you all. Thank you.
Now I'd like to call upon Mr. Srihari Palangala to begin the session. Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for welcoming all of us. And like she mentioned, my name is Srihari. I work for Dell Technologies. It's a pleasure to be here, and spending about an hour and 15 minutes is what I have. That includes the time that we get to interact with each other. Okay. So let me dive right into it. Assuming you can see everything clear at the back? All good? All right. So let's go through this. And I'm going to be a little closer to this so that I can see some of this more easily. So what I want to spend some time on is sharing with you some personal views, experiences from organizations large and small, right? And in so doing, give you a little bit of perspective, like what I called this session earlier, perspectives from the industry. Okay, so that's one part. And like she mentioned, parts of it, what I've learned here in country, parts of it, what we've learned outside. The second is this all entirely distilled from the experience and learning. Is the voice loud enough? Can you hear me? Okay. So it's distilled from experience and learning. So I've tried to capture and bring forth something which is useful for you as you listen to me for the next 1 hour. Okay. So that's the second piece. The third is we're going to talk about marketing for most part, and specifically B2B marketing. Okay, so that's where I'm going to spend my time, energy, effort, literally over the next hour. And lastly, I must thank every one of you for giving me the opportunity, as well as all of you, right? So, Dean, Professor, Sanjay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I always welcome the opportunity to speak to students. It keeps us fresh, grounded, brings us new perspectives, which all of you bring to the conversation every day. Okay. So, like I said, 3 things that we will talk about: marketing as it is in the industry today, the way we've seen it, and 2 more topics which I'm not sure that you were necessarily expecting me to cover or speak about. But I think it's important, as some of you are existing current students, some of you are exploring what you're looking at for from an MBA, right? So the second one is, how do you strengthen yourself as an MBA professional? Either getting into it or if you're already in the journey, right? And this is probably a close area of, hey, listen, what do companies look for when they're trying to hire MBA students, for example? So that's the second piece. And the third, I've taken the liberty of adding one last piece, which is personal professional, which I think is also very important. The workplace around us today is very competitive. It's changing a lot, right? And in that scheme of things, how do you maintain a balance, healthy balance between your personal and professional? There are a few key considerations I wanted to share with you. So I think all three of it will be useful for you, right? So three things that we'll cover. But what's most important in this, which I've called out over here, can we keep it interactive and conversational? Yes, sir. I can't hear you. Yes, sir. That's it. So let's get some energy. All of you, has everybody had lunch? Yes, sir. Good lunch? Yes. Okay, so let's keep it conversational. Let's keep it engaging, just so that everybody in this room gets something out of it, including us. Okay, fair? All right, so let's get started. Okay, so first few, maybe about 30, 40 minutes will be in the marketing realm, right? So what is the purpose of business? You are all in business school, yeah? So what is the purpose of business? You have to speak loud.
Meeting a consumer's need.
Meeting a consumer's need. What did you say?
Create a customer.
To create a customer. Okay. What else?
Making money.
Making money. Okay. All right. Anything else? So creating a customer, finding a customer and making money. Is it good enough? Is that good enough? Well, today a lot of companies, and there's a mandate, right, that you have to go and do some corporate social good as well, right? So you can't quite to the extreme as well. But I found this particular quote from Peter Drucker. Everyone heard of Peter Drucker? Yeah? So that quote is particularly interesting from a marketing lens. Right? So fundamentally, what the quote said was there are two and only two key functions within a business. Right? Do you agree? Marketing and innovation. Everything else is a cost of doing business. Right? So if you've got some innovative product out there which you think will go get a customer or make a sale, then the rest is just going out and getting that word out there. That's part of marketing. Right? Everything else is a cost of doing business. I don't know if that's entirely true, partly true, and like you've been in B school, you learn to debate every single point of view, right? This was written some time ago, but then it's an interesting perspective from the purpose of business standpoint, right? And we'll revisit this in what I want to share with you a little bit later in terms of how marketing and today customer acquisition is working out, right? So we'll revisit part of this. So, what do you think is the fundamental role of marketing? So we talked about purpose of business, right? So some people said going and getting customer. So what do you think is the purpose of marketing? Attention. Getting attention. Okay? Sorry, I'm just paraphrasing a little bit of what you're saying. Guys in the back, I don't even know if you are listening. You can speak up. Speak up. Just, what do you think? Purpose of the fundamental role of marketing. And there's so many terms. Right? If you do, I tried to do a word cloud out over here. Right? There's so many roles like targeting, segmentation, pricing, differentiation, competitor. All of that comes within the scheme of marketing, right? So what's the role of marketing?
Convincing a customer's mind.
Convincing a customer's mind. Okay? So just convincing a customer's mind, you're done? You think so? Customer acquisition. So she used an important term, acquisition, right? Building a trust with the customer. Okay, what else? At the back, folks. You knew I wasn't going to pick on you, was you? Was I?
Oh, they are still in existence.
I know. Guys. To promote, okay?
Creating a sense of need.
Creating a sense of need. Yeah, that's all of it parts of what's effectively the role of marketing, right? And I've tried to distill, if you can read, if you can, I'm going to read out, right? Bring inbound interest in a prospect for a profitable transaction to happen. Right? So let's look at some of these words. And again, this is what I chose to put down over there, right? You can debate, talk, question, etc., right? So few things that I said. One is bring inbound interest. So somebody said trust. What was the word that was used over here? Somebody used a word on this side, right? Need, right? Right? Need. You said trust. Creating a need, right? So bringing an inbound interest. So somebody from the mass, so if I speak to all of you today, somebody from you comes and approaches, post a session for a particular conversation, as an example, right? So you've been able to extract that thing out from a mass, right? So when you're marketing out to a whole mass of people. Potentially there are somebody who will raise their hand and say, oh my God, that sounds interesting. I'd like to come forward and speak to you about a transaction. That is an inbound interest, right? So whatever you did to go out there and put that message such that the inbound interest came is part of marketing. So that's one. And it's important. The inbound interest is important. Second, I use the word prospect, right? So somebody who's right now not in your scheme of things. They may be an existing customer, but you've got a different product that you want to sell to them. So in that sense, they're still a prospect, right? So you want to bring an inbound interest from a prospect to come forward and do a transaction with you, right? Now, what is a transaction? What is a transaction? An exchange. An exchange, right? You want an exchange to happen. What sort of exchange? What sort of exchange? Okay, so the first thing which comes to mind is monetary, right? Is that the only kind of a transaction which can happen? Okay, what's an example of a non-monetary transaction? Barter system is an example of non-monetary. What else could be non-monetary? At the back, anyone else? What is non-monetary in your mind? When you go to a website and somebody says, here's a white paper, they ask you to give you some information, right? You have to fill out something. Is that a transaction? Are you paying for it? But what are you giving? You're giving your details. You're giving your information, right? You were a nameless visitor up until that point, but you came to the website, you saw something that the person said which was interesting. So the fact that you came to the website is inbound. The fact that you chose to give them some information is a transaction that happened. So whoever worked out that piece of marketing seems to have done a job, right? And you've got the prospect who's come and engaged with you, right? Now, is it good enough for finding anybody? Why not? Why not?
It depends on the product.
Okay, it depends on the product. Okay, good, yeah. That's good, yeah.
You can't sell a car to a two-wheeler bike.
Okay.
So it depends on it.
Okay, fine. So let's say I've gone in front of somebody who's interested in a two-wheeler, right? And put my collateral, my message out there, and they've said, but is it good enough?
No, sir.
Why?
So because a person who has an interest, there's no guarantee that the sale happens.
Okay. Let's say they do buy, but I've used one more word in this, right?
Profit.
Profitable, right? Your intent. So it's quite easy to go out there and say, listen, you know what, I'm going to give it to you at no cost. And a transaction can happen, right? But you want to get a profitable customer as far as possible, right? There are markets, there are avenues where maybe it's not. But what's an extreme, the other variation of this, which just occurred to me as I was talking to you? How many of you have heard of the freemium model? Premium models, right? Premium model is where you choose to give a base product at no cost. So you build that volume of transaction, right? And once you have a sufficient mass of users, you start charging them at a certain point of time. That could be where they say, okay, all these base features are good, it's free, but I want to use these advanced features. Well, you need to pay. Or you say for the first 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, it's free. After that, you need to pay. So a freemium is a variation of it, right? But it's a tactic, it's a very powerful tactic to go out there and get the velocity of your business going, okay? So any comments from anyone, from any observations?
The model that you just mentioned.
Freemium.
Yes.
Yes.
It's used by applications like
Is it
with
usually used
premium.
Hold on one second, sorry? Yeah, correct. So the comment made was
Use application.
correct. And most times software will do freemium models. So the question and the comment for the benefit, those in the back, the freemium models are used by software vendors, right? That's what you were saying, which is absolutely true. They are the ones they can scale most easily. So you've heard of SaaS companies, software as a service, right? That's a great example. They would say, hey, you know what? And I don't know if WordPress does it. I don't know if Salesforce, but there are a bunch of them which offer this kind of a freemium model, right? They'll say first baseline is at no cost, subsequently. Now the beauty of it is that you're making a natural selection. You need to realize all of this is an integral part of what marketing does, right? Which is you're putting out of a message, you're putting out a product, you're putting out a offer out there such that there is a natural selection, which is an inbound selection of those who will come forward to transact and interact with you, right? And this is a very powerful gate to go and identify. Sorry, there was a comment?
Is it usually used for subscription-based applications? Or
Yeah, could be.
could
Could
be
be.
major or other part?
Yeah, no, mostly for subscription, because that's where you can really, I mean, good example is LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is a freemium model, right? Everybody has a free account. You want to, or a recruiter wants to reach you, or you want to be able to send a certain number of in-mails, you have to be a premium user, right? So that's an example of in the software domain. Yeah. Any other comments? Something from the back? Yeah, please go ahead. You may have to speak up. Yeah, we can.
So you're talking about transactions. Could it include emotions too, because emotions tend to be good enough?
Yeah. Evoking a response. Transaction, you're saying? Yeah, so the comment when I say transaction, does emotions also fall within that category? Well, to a certain extent, yes. When I talk about what a typical business or what typical market is, what you want the word of mouth, for example, to work for you, right? And it's far more powerful, especially as you go from, the early adopters of your product, they become your advocates. So yeah, why not? Okay, any other comments from anyone?
This getting an inbound interest seems to be the pull model of marketing
Yeah.
as opposed to the push model.
Correct. So we'll talk about that. So she made a good comment. So she said the inbound interest talks about is more a pull model of marketing versus a push, and we'll talk about where pull and push fit in the scheme of things. But that's a good observation. That's a good observation. Okay. Anything else? All right. Let's move on. Okay. So let's dive into. So I want to talk about a couple of things before we get into deeper marketing, right? So let's look at a typical business today, right? And by the way, all these images I just picked up from Google. Okay, so I've got a caveat down below over there. So I do want to mention, a typical business today. What do they want to do? What's in their mind? What are they fundamentally trying to do? Fulfill a necessity, right? So the first thing, and probably no necessarily in any particular order, but we'll go through it, right? They want to be able to communicate something, which is a proposition of a product that they have, right? And there's probably something more basic and fundamental that they should do, but let's start with product and service for right now. So a typical business today is out there trying to communicate their proposition, which is really important. In so doing, they can end up building a perception. They need to build a perception of that product, right? Whether, you pick a particular example, if it is Volvo cars, for example, they will continuously communicate saying that they are safe. So you build, now it's very well likely that the cars which are built have safety features in them, and that's how the product and everybody rallies behind the same idea, fundamental idea of why the company exists and what they're trying to do. But all of that ladder up towards building a particular perception for that product, for that service. Okay, that's the second thing. The third is when they're out there, they're obviously competing, and therefore they need to be able to strive for a certain degree of brand preference. So there's a Volvo, there's a Mercedes, there's a BMW. Each one of them need to stand for something such that when the inbound interest comes, there is a preference for one brand versus the other. Okay? And then there's the creating the demand, to what the comment was made around the pull versus the push model. Ideally, you want to be able to generate the pull. Why? Why do you think it's more important to generate a pull versus a push? Anyone? Why?
Push requires more hard work.
Yeah, simple physics, right? Push requires more hard work, but why? How? In a business context, why?
Pull is the attention of a person who comes to you. Push is creating an
Correct.
impression of
Push, okay, so pull is a fundamental interest, right? And push is driving. What else comes to mind? Pull as a very natural gravitation for somebody for what you stand for. So if you say fundamentally, I stand for building safe cars, whichever audience is out there who are looking for safe cars will automatically come to you, right? So that's a pull. Versus just saying, hey, listen, I build cars, right? And then try and push that to the when you move to the push model, you have to figure out other manipulations. What are other manipulations? You have to drop your price. Maybe you have to say my car is better than the other car because of these 4 features, my accelerator, my this thing, my that thing, kind of thing, right? Versus of having a much stronger narrative where the inbound is better, right? So you're better off when you have a narrative which says, here's my pull. And automatically people know why I should come to you. You may have a small set which comes to you, that's fine, but at least it's pre-qualified in that sense, right? And then you can expand a little bit of what such that you make. The other one which typical businesses are handling today is massive change. Now, you need to orient your minds around this, folks, all of you, those who are in your MBA program, those of you looking to it, right? The world around us is changing massively. And a business, if you were to treat it as an individual, is also going through that kind of change, that kind of massive transformation, right? There are things like new ecosystems. What's an example of someone who got disrupted by an ecosystem which showed up out of the blue? Sorry? Kodak? Kodak, yeah, Kodak, yeah. I mean, that's an alternative technology which came. Hotels, right? Somebody was saying, okay, I've got these rooms. I'm going to rent out my rooms with whether it's a Marriott or whatever. They were saying, you know, come to my hotel and stay. And then somebody said, you know what? Here's an Airbnb. I'll go and figure out which rooms you all can come there. That's an ecosystem. Somebody built that, right? So you need to be. So businesses are dealing with new ecosystems which are showing up all the time. New competitors, right? Who was a partner with you in a particular conversation can become a competitor in a different conversation. Now, you may think that we have split personality. We're not quite sure whether we are friends or enemies, but that's the new world, folks. As individuals, as businesses, as everything, right? It is a very dynamic environment, right? And your competitors are showing up from everywhere. Right? The most important thing, that we're in the technology business, so every business today is a tech business. Yeah? Every business is a tech business. And an institute like this as well will have a digital footprint where they have to reach out to students, offer courses online, etc., and so on and so forth. Right? So there are new competitors who may also show up. And then new partners. Right? So these are all the things that a typical business is constantly dealing with, which we need to be aware of. On the flip side, so that's a business. So how's a typical buyer? How's a typical buyer? And as I was thinking about this, I just want to keep it a little simple. So I just call out a few key things which come to mind, right? Think of all of yourselves as buyers, yeah? When you all are buyers, how is your behavior? What are a few things which come to your mind as you are a buyer? Tell me what you all are doing as buyers today which you were not doing previously. Sorry?
quality.
Quality, okay, good. Quality, you're looking. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you're going to try out alternatives, right? Okay. Going cashless, yeah. Time saving, yeah. Time saving, right? Ease. I would say that like convenience and ease, right? Customer reviews, very good. And somebody asked a question about whether emotion can substitute as a transaction. Here's your answer, right? Somebody is looking at customer reviews to influence the next transaction. So sure, so you had somebody else had a comment at the back. Priorities, yeah, yeah. So all valid comments, right? And it's easy for us to think about this as we are typical buyers. Now, what is the other point I'm trying to make over here? As a marketer, it's very important that you understand the buyer behavior. There are a lot of fancy terminology that people will put out there around customer journey, buyer journey. When I put a little bit more of a practical lens on it, whilst all of that is good and is important, I'm not saying it's not, you need to just put yourself in a very simple lens of how the customer looks at whatever proposition that you as a business are offering. So a few things should come to mind to you, right? The most important thing is decreasing attention spans. I have a mammoth task today. You know why? I have to try and hold your attention for 1 hour. And I'm constantly observing how many of you are looking at your phones. I can't do it. If I am in the audience, I cannot spend an hour not looking at my phone. But you're a customer today. You have decreasing attention spans. You can't listen to me for an hour. Forget an hour. You can't listen to me like 5 minutes. Is that true? That's the customer you're marketing to. That's the customer you are marketing to. They have very, very less attention spans. You know, it is so embarrassing. A human's attention span is less than that of a goldfish. A goldfish has more attention span. Correct. Somebody said 8. Who said 8? Yeah? No, goldfish has apparently 12, I think, milliseconds. Yeah. Can't be 12 seconds. It's too long. 12 milliseconds. Anyway, the numbers 8 and 12 stuck in my head. So whatever is it, if it's milli, micro, whatever it is, but and a human has 8, a goldfish has 12. Shame on us. You see what I'm saying, right? As a marketer, I have to find the mind space with you in that short period of time. Incredibly hard task, folks. Incredibly hard task. That's why you need all the tools and arsenal that I'll talk about in a second. So that's one. Second, and again, this one is a little bit of a B2B lens, right? There's incredible amount of clutter out there. How many of you have any idea about technology? Well, as in B2B technology, not regular technology. Raise your hands. I mean, how many of you have worked with tech companies or anything? Yeah, few of you. You've heard these words: cloud, pay-as-you-go, SaaS. You know, there are like a million words out there, yeah. And so yesterday I heard some more new words, right? I mean, last couple of months. There is a new word. There's a deep tech. What is deep tech? Same set of technologies, right? Emerging technologies, but now it's a deep tech. There's a lot of new terminology. Now you're a buyer. You're a buyer, and you have to understand all these terminologies, make sense out of that terminology, and go and make a purchase while not looking stupid. Which is why some years ago, you would have probably studied in B school, IBM put out a phrase, right? They said, oh, you can never make a mistake when you buy an IBM. Why did they say that? Exactly for dealing with something like this. To give you the comfort that no matter what you may have chosen, you couldn't have made a mistake. Don't worry, right? Because the buyer is dealing with a lot of noise. And if you couple it with the fact that, multiple partnerships are being formed, new relations, this, that, and the other, it's very hard. That's the second piece. The third is an always-on behavior. Before a prospect comes to you, so you all are mass of customers for me, before one of you come forward and actually engage with me, for example, if I am a business, you probably spend about 67–70% of the time doing research anyways. And you've already made up your mind about 60–70%. Right? And that's when you're speaking to me. And that's the visible part. So if you think of the iceberg, that's the 30%. There's actually 70%. You've already made up your mind. Thanks to the signals that you were referring to, or all the other things that are available out there in the market today. So as a marketer, that's the other piece that you're dealing with. People are already forming an impression about you before they even show up. Make sense? Yeah? Any reactions? Any comments from anyone on this before we move forward? What do you think? Are we missing anything else from a typical buyer? Sorry?
The judgment of a buyer increased through, is it differentiated between the generations?
Okay, so the question was, does the judgment differ based on generation? Fair. I mean, that's a loaded question with multiple dimensions. So, so the question was, does a judgment vary based on generations, right? I think so let's peel a little bit. So one is judgment. What does judgment mean? So what he's trying to refer to, and correct me if you want to phrase it differently, but judgment is the cycle time, the purchase cycle time, right? So assuming about 70% the person has already done research, you've got another 30%, and that 30% can take anywhere between a day to 6 months to a year, right? So that's one thing you need to be mindful of. Now, why should you be mindful about that judgment piece? Can you just say, oh, here's an inbound interest which came, maybe it's an involved purchase. Maybe it's an involved purchase, right? What does an involved purchase mean? Maybe it's a high value purchase, maybe it's a complex solution, that you're trying to buy. So the inbound interest has come, but it's going to take 6 months for that to be seen end to end. Now, how do I keep marketing to the person during that phase, right? Obviously, sales is talking to them, etc., but you still need a connect. So that's an important dimension of what you said. Second is you talked about generations, which is again another important facet, right? So today, a lot of it has changed from, you're absolutely right, it has changed, right? How many of you have heard as a service, right? Everything is as a service, right? By the way, how many of you are intending to buy cars anymore? You're all a very young generation, and I'm interested. This is my personal side poll. How many of you are going to buy cars? Raise your hand. Yeah, come on. Vintage. Hey, think and answer. Yeah, think it. Oh, not vintage, man. I'm talking about regular car. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, how many of you buy cars? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Fast. I'm assuming the others are going to go as a service. Hello? As a service? What does as a service mean? Uber, Ola. Why should I have my own car? This is your answer to your millennials, right? Consumption pattern has changed. So, and doesn't mean to say that I'm old. By the way, I'm also a consumption as a service. I'm just kidding. No, go ahead. What's your comment?
So because through the coming days, we are just accumulating the degree of cars that we have is increasing. It is back to that.
Well, yeah.
There are many electric cars we can switch to.
Yes, true. So fair enough. I think the comment being made over here was millennials. And so the reason I was trying to ask about cars is the shift is happening to how people are going to buy, right? People, well, that's what they say. A lot of people say that, and a little bit of it is reflected here too. Some of you are not thinking of buying cars. Some of you may not want to buy a home, as an example, right? You may think it's better to rent it. That's fine, but then there's a difference. So as a marketer, I need to be able to cater to that, right? Versus somebody who wants to own I wouldn't call car necessarily as an asset in the traditional sense, but then you may want to own it, right? So you need to be able to cater to that as well. Okay? Any other comments? Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. So most buyers are influenced by others.
Yes.
So when it comes to as a service or buying the actual product, it's mostly depending on, most people take opinions of others.
Yes.
So you cannot really, so most of our opinions could be based on experiences also.
Yes.
So if we see a lot of people around us using services, we might tend to use services.
Correct.
And if we see a lot of people buying,
correct.
So probably could be, we would tend to buy the product.
Yes.
So that is, I think, plays
You're
a
right.
huge important role when it comes to
You're
marketing
absolutely
a product.
right. And you make two important points in that. What is your name, by the way?
Rehab.
Rihan.
Rehab,
you make two important points, right? One is he talked about references, right? He said the importance of listening to the others, getting a pulse check, and moving forward, right? So that was definitely important, particularly, if you go read up, you'll find, Indian buyers. Again, I'm going to make an Indian buyers comment. It's applicable by and large in multiple geos. They're really looking at, hey, what did you think? How did that work? Why? Indian buyers are very value conscious. I wouldn't say price conscious. They're value conscious, right? Oh, what did you use it for? Oh, you're using it for 3-4 things. Good, right? So that kind of feel. Actually, another point came to mind, which you mentioned, which is slipping my mind right now. So you said about the referrals. What was the other one you made? You made one more point. I'm just missing that. Very good. Yeah, correct. Right. So that was the other one I wanted to mention, and I'll show you a chart. Why is this preferences and influence really important to build that critical mass? And I'll show you a little bit. You might have seen it, but I'll give you a little context on that. So both of those are important, right? So the fact that you're able to take opinions of other people, and now how does opinions come in? Again, through marketing efforts, right? Hey, what did you think of this service? How are you using it, right? So that kind of thing, right? And all this thing around virality and so on and so forth comes in through that, right? Okay, any other comments? Anyone? Yeah? Okay. So this is what I want to talk about. Going right into what you were saying. Yes? Yes, please.
The previous slide, you said 60% of buyer journey is now digital, right?
Yes.
So nowadays, people are taking demos offline and buying online.
Correct.
What do you say about it?
Correct. Correct. That is good. That's a good question. So the question, if in case you didn't, so people are taking demos online, but purchasing offline.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, somewhat that debate has been rested in my mind, I'm thinking, right? What is that debate? Should I do all online? Should I do all offline?
Yes.
Right? So some people who were traditionally all offline said, oh my God, I want to go find these people, right? So I think the truth is somewhere in between, which is, some people research online and then go buy offline.
Exactly.
Some people will research offline and then go buy online. Both ways is true, right? And today's connected world, the price points will quickly gravitate to the same. In fact, you go to most places, they'll say, I'll match the online. Yeah, it's no big difference.
How effective is reverse showrooming?
Reverse?
Showrooming.
Reverse showrooming. So what you're saying is you're going to demo offline and buy online.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Yeah, that's also true. See, high value product, for example. I may want to see my well, I don't know if that's the greatest example, but I may want to see my television before I go and make an order online, as an example, right? Or even for that matter, phones, stuff like that, right? So the truth is come somewhere in between. The other important point I want to mention in the context of this is owning the experience. Owning the experience across both, right? So for example, I may have my offline store, okay, where I'm selling whatever, let's say phones, for example, right? Just some brand of phone. But I also sell that on my Amazon store or my Amazon portal, right? What's the difference between the two? What's the difference between the two?
Amazon store?
Yeah, Amazon store, right? I can tell the customer, come to my store and buy it. I can tell them, go online and buy it. And I give it to Amazon, and Amazon does the fulfillment. So what's the difference? Some amount, okay. Put it. Convenience and time saving, fine. No, but me as a business, not me as a user. Both of you are saying me as a user. I'm saying me as a business. Why will I choose between offline store and Amazon? I mean, what's the difference? Sorry. Sure, online. So what you're trying to say is distribution, reach, right? Anything from the back? Yeah, go ahead.
Probably the company would miss out on marketing effort.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to invest on marketing if it could sell it on its own, or if another company just takes care of it.
Yeah, I'll extend that, right? Nike has stopped selling on Amazon. Why? They're saying that we will own the experience. You can go to a Nike's showroom, Nike store, and buy a pair of shoes, or you come to my online store and buy from me. Why? Because both ways I control the experience that you as a customer will have about my shoes. If I give it to Amazon, I'll give you an example. I've just ordered something on Amazon. It's not come. Now, whom do I blame? That vendor or that other guy who's like shipped it? I don't know. But me, I'm a little annoyed, right? So that, and if it was Nike, they care about it, because me as a customer is not happy with Nike shoes. Nike is, as an example, right? So there are a lot of other considerations. Therefore, and then you need to balance it with, hey, am I losing customers? Now, Nike may be able to do it, but ABC other brand may not be able to do it, right? So there are some who can do it, some who can't. Therefore, they have to figure out what's the right middle path. Does that give you a sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So just making a comment on that, I think humans are a ball of emotions. So humans are a ball of emotions. So we are mostly judged on emotions. So any decision that we normally take is due to emotions.
Yeah.
So marketers who can master the art of capturing these emotions.
Yeah. You make a very important point. Make a very, very important point. I'll come to it later, right? I think I'll touch upon it here, and I'll touch upon it later as well. What Riyab is talking about is a very important point, folks. If I can extend what you're saying, there is the rational and the irrational piece of buying. Right? By the way, this is something I recently read. And so what I'm saying is between what I've learned and some stuff that I've read in a few places as well, right? So it'll give you a good mix of a little bit of a flavor of both. But it's an important point what he has made, right? Which is on emotion. Emotion is that deep part of the brain. By the way, how many of you have gone and bought a product even when maybe you know you could have got a cheaper product elsewhere? Just making it up. How many of you have gone and bought a product? Come on, yeah? Don't tell me, yeah? You've bought, right? Raise your hand, raise your hand. So are the others saying that you'll have never made any purchase which was not? Few of you have made, right? Why did you make the purchase? In spite of knowing. So give me an example. Why did you make the purchase?
So that I can go and see and feel it before I buy.
Yeah, but then you made a purchase while knowing that you could potentially get, let's say, cheaper or a better deal or whatever.
I wouldn't see the product before buying. Sense of trust.
Sense of trust. Sense of trust. And why do you have trust? Because that person or that side or whatever is saying, much your same wavelength, right? And therefore you say, you know what, it's okay, I'm willing to do it, right? And I'm willing to take that. So therefore, in that context and bringing some of what you were just saying, I want to share with you this, right? How many of you have seen this chart? How many of you have seen this chart? Yeah? Come on, yeah? You should have seen, yeah? Especially PGP2, yeah? You should have seen some of this, right? Now, you can look it up if you haven't. Crossing the Chasm, the Jeffrey Moore's book talks about it. Now, essentially what they're saying is that, you can think of your entire customer segment in like 5 areas, right? Innovators, early adopters, then the whole segment around the early majority, late majority, and then the laggards. Okay? Now let's just bear with me as I give you a little bit. This is actually a very interesting, I think, an insight that you can sort of keep with you for a while. For the customers who are in the first 3 buckets, right, who are your innovators, the early folks who will jump on and take your product, right? They're an early bunch of folks. They will do it when they understand and resonate with the positioning of your why. Why are you offering this? What is so interesting about this proposition? And they'll be the first ones who will sign up for you. They are also likely going to be your most loyal buyers. So they will go and buy your product because they trust you, they know your service, they know all of this. They are not going to go and figure out, oh, is the same product available cheaper elsewhere? They are willing to just have a certain degree of blind faith. That's second. Third, it drives a lot of the inbound pull automatically. And to your comment, these are the people who will be speaking about your brand. So therefore, it will drive a lot of the brand preference. They will speak about your brand. And to that extent, they are likely to be irrational buyers as well. So even when you make a mistake, they're willing to forgive. That's okay, because they understand. Right? The important part is going from the early adopters to the early majority, which is what that entire book is about, crossing the chasm. Right? Now, for the mass market products, the ones which have like millions and millions of users, are typically getting past the 18-20% of this entire market. And they do so by bringing that collective voice working for them. When you spend your marketing money on the other side, which is a much harder segment of your audience, they are typically the rational buyers. They are the ones who will want the price deal. They are the ones who are always likely to switch at the slightest of opportunities. Right? I thought it is interesting. This is a little bit academic, but it's important for you to get your head around how you look at segments of customers that you're talking to. Does that make sense? Yeah? And therefore, as marketing, you ideally want to be able to get a good chunk of the left-hand side, who become your advocates, who will speak for you in your absence, and therefore propagate your message. Yeah? Okay? All right. I do want to spend a little bit of time on marketing. I heard a lot, so a few of you who we had interactions with earlier, right? It's an important area around marketing and sales interlock, right? When you go out there in your jobs and you figure out what you're doing, if you're in sales or in marketing, end of the day, you're out there to go and do the customer acquisition who's profitable, inbound interest, et cetera, right? So that's what you're trying to do. So as a marketer, this is what you're going to be living with, which is a typical marketing funnel. How many of you have heard of the marketing funnel? Raise your hand. Anyone? Marketing funnel? Yeah? Few people at the back. A typical marketing funnel is something you have to get very, very comfortable with. A typical marketing funnel has things that you're doing in market for awareness, for engagement, and what you would call as a marketing lead. Who is a marketing lead? In that example we talked about earlier, somebody who came to your website maybe and said, hey, listen, I'm interested in talking to your salesperson. I have downloaded this paper. Here are my contact details. I would like to have somebody from your organization speak to me. And I am interested in a purchase in the next 3 months, 6 months, depends on whatever is the cycle, buyer cycle. Marketing's fundamental job is to take that mass of people and as easily and as friction-free as possible, take them through this journey. What's an example of something you would do in awareness? What's an example? Advertising, right? And you can figure out the right vehicles, tactics, advertising, so on and so forth. I'll talk to you about it in a little bit. But advertising is an example. You're out there putting your message. Yeah, I generally know what that company does. I generally know what that product does. That's awareness. What's engagement? Sorry? Playing with emotions. Okay? Man, you guys love the word emotions. Yeah? This school is rooted around emotions. No, it's good. Emotions, fine. What else? Give me an example. In a digital world, all of you are all the time engaged with stuff, right? What is engagement?
Speaking interest.
Speaking interest, okay.
For example, if you posted something on social media about your product, if prospective customer clicks on your post.
Very good. Very good. So let me finish what she said. So she said, piquing interest, if I put something out on social and if a customer does a like or looks at it, etc., is engagement. Good. Few underlying things that she ended up saying without is there's a way in which I can measure that. Maybe, I don't know, likes, whatever. Maybe we can, that's a different conversation. But hey, the person liked, the person saw my video. By the way, they saw it, if it's a 2-minute video, they saw it for 40 seconds. They saw the entire video. Good. They're reasonably engaged. Remember, we have attention, what? Attention deficit. What is the, we have very short attention spans. If the guy saw 40 seconds of my video, that's awesome. This person wants to buy. Let's give it to sales. Right? No, right? But that's what you were saying. That's engagement. Sorry, what were you saying?
So typically a good content would attract viable people.
Correct. Good content. Exactly in line what she was saying. I put a social post out there. Maybe it's a video, some content. I put a paper. People liked it. People read it. Now, the bar has to be a little bit higher. How easy is it to give a like? Come on. Yeah. How easy is it to give a like? Yeah, no problem. Awesome. Does that qualify? Nah, that's very easy. You saw my video, you read the whole paper. Well, maybe that's good enough, right? Come on in. That's engagement to a certain degree, right? And then comes the great marketing lead, right? You finally have crossed all of these and you said, okay, here's a person who has said, I would like to learn about your solution, and therefore, goalpost met, this person is a marketing lead. Now, what is really important to go from start to end over here? Good content. Okay, what else? So just putting, I mean, you talked about it, but you didn't. So I just want to know if you are thinking. Come on, what is required to go from one end to the other?
It should be valid.
Money, budget. Marketing has the budget to take a person from one end to the other. Fair? Now, budgets are going down. Therefore, you need to get more people from start to the end with lesser money. Therefore, you need to think, how do I do this more efficiently? Fair? On the other side, our friends in sales. How many of you want to pursue a sales career? Hey, you're the emotions guy, man. You can't go to sales. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, sales. How many of you want to do sales? Yeah, sales. Come on. No, few. When the marketing lead comes, it goes into what is typically a sales funnel. What is a sales funnel? Somebody in sales says, okay, fine, my marketing friend tells me this is a lead, I'm going to work on it. The person downloaded a white paper on the website. I am now going to call the person. You know what? The person is just not interested. They were browsing something. They clicked on this by mistake. Sorry. Well, back. Your marketing lead is back. You got it? That's mine. But somebody will say, oh, you know what? No, good prospect. I like it. Sales will accept the lead. That's a SAL. Sales accepted lead. Okay? They will at some point convert it into a sales opportunity, and sales will tell you, you can't go from start to finish in one day. Depends on the cycle time. They have multiple stages, etc., etc. But sales takes it from a one end to the other end of the funnel. And at some point, the customer will buy. This is a typical B2B funnel, folks, I must tell you. There's a B2B world, like I said right at the start of the presentation, it's all B2B. B2C has a lot of this working in much faster rhythm, right? From an awareness to the purchase, it'll all be controlled within the marketing realm for most part, because you just don't have that kind of scale to put that many salespeople in front of a person buying a phone, for example. Okay? Fair? Any other comments on this? So a prospect goes from all the way one end to the other. This is a typical customer journey. And you need to do, as a business, as friction-free, as, what shall I say, in the most enjoyable manner for the customer to go from one end to the other without confusing the heck out of them and taking them past the finish line. At every stage will be a cost per. So for example, I'll have a cost per awareness, cost per engagement, cost per lead, cost per this, etc., etc. Fair? Okay, and therefore you do. Few other things I wanted to share with you on this slide, folks. One is, it doesn't, product and field, I think we've spoken, right? It doesn't go neatly from one stage to the other. Don't expect, oh my God, this person has done awareness, now they will come and engage with me. Oh, they've engaged, now they will go into this. No, it can go all over the place.
So, customer acquisition cost of the company,
yeah.
Does it determine like how much future sales it can predict or something like that?
Yeah, so I'll come to that in a second as well. Customer acquisition cost. So there are a few things which are good to know, and I'm sure you know some parts of it already would have been covered in courses, right? The cost of acquiring a new customer is always higher, it's easier to retain, cross-sell, all of those pieces, right? Why is that higher? Something like this should give you a sense, right? I have to spend money taking somebody from here all the way there. If the person is already on that side, it's easier to just, you know what, sell to them. That's the simpleton's logic on that, right? Few other things I want to say. It doesn't progress neatly, so you need to remember that. This is sort of, in the ideal world, they'll go from one to the other. But there are a few important things as marketers that you can do. For example, hey, here's the audience that engaged with me to what you said. Oh, these are all the people, and it's a digital world. So I know exactly who's come, when, why, what they did, from where they came, where they went to. I know everything about the person. So if I know that, I can do smarter things. Oh, here's the audience which engaged with me. I will only do my DemGen activities only on that piece. Right? Because I have lesser, therefore, I can generate more leads through an activity like this. Right? So you can do smarter things. The other thing is, this is not a finite game. Oh, I got a customer, the customer purchased, done. We're now on to the next customer. That same customer will log in a support request, will do something else, engage with you on social, come back and tell you how good or horrible you were, etc., etc., etc. And to what you were saying earlier, lifetime value of the customer. Right? It's not an end-to-end, one-time, finished. Think about this as a loop. And it can go all over the place as well. Therefore, analytics, data, knowing how these dots are connected is super important. Fair? So that's the other element I want to share with you. Let's just get into a little bit of business-oriented marketing. I'm very passionate about this. When you go out there as a marketing professional, it is very, very important, in my mind, for you to be business-oriented. I spoke to a few of you this morning. All of you have a domain that you are an expert in. You need to market in that domain. You cannot market in vacuum. You cannot put a chart like this for everything. This works actually great for a tech company, to be honest, right? You'll need to think about it in different companies. But you need to understand and relate to it from a business perspective. Where is the business? What is going on in the business such that I can do that funnel and bring value to the table that much more efficiently? Few things I want to call out in this context. First one, reach and coverage. What's the difference between sales and marketing?
Marketing is getting the message out there, but sales is actually making the important transaction.
Okay, so say marketing is getting the voice out there, sales is doing the transaction, for example. What else? Different, some other things which comes to mind, sales and marketing. Quickly.
Marketing is customer oriented and the sales is product oriented.
Okay, marketing is customer oriented. Actually, everybody is customer oriented, just to be absolutely clear, right? Everything fundamentally should be customer oriented in a good sense, right? Sorry, go ahead. But I'll come to your point in a second. Sorry.
Marketing is not a value addition.
Okay, what do you mean by value addition?
You create, an environment to get a sales going.
Yeah. So you perception, value perception. You say fair. That's a product-oriented comment still. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in this context of sales and marketing is, marketing can put a big blanket out there. Sales has limited ability to reach. Now, sales can still reach, but it is still constrained. The resources are constrained. They don't have. So therefore, sales in and of by themselves cannot reach the entire market. It's really, really hard. Therefore, marketing, it is onus of marketing to be able to drive that level of awareness and engagement such that your net is gone far and wide. Okay? That's one thing. I'm calling all of this in the context of the business, folks. It's very important. Because tomorrow you're going to be working with your other business colleagues. And when you bring value to the table as a marketer, they need to understand, and the onus is on you to communicate to them on what is the value that marketing is bringing to the table. Likewise, they do, and so on and so forth. Right? So this is one piece. The second is around message. As marketing, they say, oh, you're the custodians of the brand. Actually, everybody is the custodian of the brand. Right? You are all custodians of Myra's brand. It's not just the dean and the faculty, right? Each and every one of you. In fact, you all are bigger custodians of the brand because you're going out there tomorrow. Okay? Now, same way in marketing. As marketing, you have the onus and the responsibility to be able to deliver that message and get everybody else to deliver that message in a very consistent manner. That is very important. Consistent manner. Consistency drives What did you just say? What is the word you used earlier? Trust. Consistency drives trust. When you go to a McDonald's, whether you go to a McDonald's in Delhi or New York or London or wherever, and you order whatever burger or Whopper, whatever you order, not Whopper, a burger, you get the same burger. That is consistency. Therefore, you have trust. As marketing, when you put a message, marketing's onus is to put that message to what you were saying, right? Everybody needs to carry that same message. It can't be, sales picks up the phone and says something else. Somebody else says something else. That's chaos. As marketing, you own the message. Okay, that's the second. Third is qualification. When you toss over something to your colleague, the onus is on you to have met a certain bar. And therefore, you need to qualify. And finally, help sales in driving the closure. There may be a bunch of customers who are stuck here, right? By the way, what's the commentary out there today about India's economic environment? What do people say? Well, it's not. Well, it is. People use the word slow. Oh, it is slow. Meaning, a lot of it is over here. There are prospects, but they're not willing to transact just yet. So marketing can help drive some of that pipeline to closure. Okay? All right, let's move. So 2 things I want to talk about on marketing before I switch gears to the last piece. How is marketing changing? Right? So a few things I want to call. Digital marketing, I think everybody, right? How many of you want a career in digital marketing? Yeah, right? Digital marketing, right? Fair, right? Good, few of you, right? So digital marketing, couple of things. I mean, there's obviously a big course you can take and so on and so forth. But digital marketing, 2 things which comes to my mind, right? You have the ability to reach massive scale, right? So when I talked about the 2 charts ago on awareness, hey, digital can drive massive awareness. What's the downside? What's the downside of digital? We spoke about it. What do we say about goldfish? Putting us to shame, attention spans. On digital, how long before you, right? At least on television they say, try and listen, or radio they'll say, hey, try and listen to me for some time. But digital, nobody has the patience. So digital has massive reach, but very, very, very low attention spans. And therefore, you'll need to, just one last comment on digital, you have to be very careful about the metrics which digital people will say, right? Or they will throw a ton of metrics. I had this impressions, I had this click through, I had that, this. What did it translate to business? Oh, well, I'm not quite sure. Right? So that's the flip side on digital. We just need, but it is a very powerful vehicle to drive the reach, particularly in India today with the mobile revolution and the reach and so on and so forth that you can do. So one, very interesting. Second, content. I think you mentioned content and message, etc. earlier, right? As marketers, the onus is on you to tell short, simple, crisp stories. Whatever business you are in, whatever companies you go work for later, as a marketer in that company, the onus is on you to be able to tell the narrative of that company. You should be able to articulate a 30-second, 60-second, 2-minute, a 1-pager, everything of it, and make sense of it, right? Short, simple, crisp stories, and the ability to drive the right content at the right time. What did I mean by right content? In each of the stages, they're interested in different things. During awareness, maybe they're interested in one type of it. During engagement, you know what, oh, this is interesting, I want to see a little bit more, so a little bit extra, right? And then at a subsequent time, a different piece of content. When they're further down the journey, they may want to evaluate the product. They may want to see the product features, right? When they are in the still the evaluation, they may just want to see a few things about the product and not that much of detail. The third, this is an important one, integrated marketing. Today, there are so many channels which are out there going and speaking to the customer. Digital, print, out of home, events, telecalling, all of these things are trying to envelope the customer, right? And they're all intrusive, right? You're doing something, oh, you get an email. Was that solicited? No, well, it just showed up, right? Now, your ability to be able to integrate your marketing. When I say integrate your marketing, really is your message of your marketing, and use all those arsenal at your disposal is really part of what I'm talking about integrated marketing. such that every piece of it is in cohesion and coordinated effort trying to deliver the same message to those prospects. So if the person comes to your website, they see the same message. They're at the airport, they see the same message. They receive a call from you, they see the same message. What is more important, frequency or showing your message? As a marketer, what is more important? You have two choices, right? You can show the most jazzy message, but show it once, or you can show a reasonable message, but you can show it many, many times. What do you think is better? Frequency. Therefore, if I'm able to put all of together, my frequency of being in front is that much better, right? And that's why integrated marketing. Customer connect 24/7, I think fairly self-explanatory, right? In this today's world, anybody may call it anytime, they expect a response, all that stuff. And customer journey and experience. And the last one is around consumption models as a service, right? And as a marketer, so you have two choices, you're a product marketer or a field marketer. I had mentioned in one of my earlier slides, your ability to be able to offer your same product or service as a service to the customer, right? So that's that flexibility that they are looking for. The important point within this is, as a marketer, your skill set is different. What you bring to the table, your capability, your metrics, your cycle times, all of those things are very different. So that's the other thing which is changing. Now, the other very important point which I want to call out over here, the minute you go to as a service marketing on this, it adds another dimension. Not only do I want to sell it to them, think about the freemium model. Freemium model has taken somebody end-to-end friction-free. LinkedIn said, come here, sign up, done, account ready, great. Done? Is that useful? Why? Why not? I got a user, na? What's the problem? What's the problem?
There has to be a transaction.
Transaction, fine. So they've signed up and, well, technically they're a user. What else? What's missing?
A
Commercial transaction is fine. What else? Revenue, fine. What else? You see this, say, what did I say at the end? Drive active use. If I create a LinkedIn account, is it enough? Why not? Exactly. I want you to come and add friends. I want you to share content. I want I want you to do all that. As a marketer in as a service world, the onus is on you to make sure that the customer is using it. So, I used to work at Microsoft and Adobe before. Microsoft used to sell paper licenses or whatever. Adobe used to sell CD-ROMs, right? About 10 years ago, you could buy Creative Suite on that. Then we changed to the cloud offering. Cloud offering, very simple. You can get a customer. Most important, are they using it? Otherwise, somebody said subscription earlier, they will not, when come time for renewal, they will drop off. So as a marketer, you need to figure out the journey is not over. I need them to continuously use my product. So how are marketers changing? That was how marketing as a function is changing, which you need to be ready for. How are marketers changing? Your budgets are continuously going to reduce. If you are going to join a startup, how much is your budget? Very low. It may not be zero, but very low. But does it mean you cannot do anything? No. There's plenty of stuff that you can do, right? But the fact remains that your budgets are going to reduce. So you therefore need to do that entire funnel which I talked about in that much more faster and a smarter manner. And every time you've gone through the cycle, you've become smarter. That's one. So that's one piece. Word of mouth and social, I think, was covered and we spoke about it. This one is very important, folks. Balancing your art and science. Very, very, very critical. How many of you think marketing is a creative profession? It's creativity. Oh, we need some creativity. Get the marketing folks in the room. Right? That's what they will say. Well, not entirely bad. It's good. But it's equally science. It's equally science. There's a lot of numbers which goes across that funnel. You can't just go out there and put a fancy creative message and hope that people will come and have an inbound engagement with you. Your ability to balance art and science. So what's science and marketing? What's an example of science and marketing? Anyone?
Will be certain principles which need to be followed.
Certain principles which need to be followed. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry? Marketing research, yeah. Sir, I have 5 minutes more. Sorry.
Understanding the psychology of the customer.
Psychology, marketing research. Science is very simple, the analytics of the funnel. You know, how many are converting from one to the other? Whom should I be targeting? What are the patterns I'm observing in my customers? Oh, customer bought this, is also buying this. Customer who expressed interest in this, also likely to buy this. Propensity. That is all science. That doesn't happen by just being creative. Oh, just sitting there, oh, maybe I think this guy will also buy this. No. So your ability to balance art and science is very, very important. This is also important as a marketing practitioner. When you sit in reviews, you may not have perfect data. So, you know, science will take you this far. It will say, you know what, it looks like this. Somewhere you need to make a judgment call. That's the art part of it. And somebody in the morning I was speaking, right, they said, oh, should we try a pilot? And that's good. Science takes you a little bit far. Try a pilot. Give it a shot. And then scale up those that are working. Okay? So it's I can't emphasize the importance of this. ROI, analytics, data-driven insights, all adding up towards the science part of it that I want to talk about. There are some things which are marketing-led versus sales-led. Is everything in the funnel marketing-led? Not necessarily. There are some accounts, some places which will be a sales-led motion, marketing supported. Right? So for example, if I know ABC customer is a high-value customer for me, it will be a sales-led motion, but marketing will support it through whatever interventions are necessary. It may be a long sales cycle with that customer. Therefore, I need to do that. Okay? So that's marketing and sales, which is important. I think brand is owned by all, which I've talked about. You know, support. Somebody calls the support. If they have a bad experience, they go write about it on social. Bad. HR. You know, you go and you invite resumes. They have a bad experience. They go write about it on Glassdoor. It's a brand. It's a brand impact, right? You don't have an impact, oh, I'm going to buy this only basis this. You sort of put everything together and make a choice, right? So that's owned by all. And personalization. Now, ideal world, I want to be able to tell you the right message at the right time. Oh, you are looking for this now. Therefore, here's the message. That's personalization in the right scheme of things that you are looking for. The double whammy is personalization at scale. I need to be able to do it for all of you basis what each one of you are looking for, which I think is awesome in this school. I hear there's a lot of personalization in terms of seeing you through the journey from the time you join till you exit. Okay? So that's personalization. Few other things I want to talk about, I think to what the comment was made earlier. 3 things, the why, what, and the how. Your ability to be able to connect to the why, the emotional connect, the why part of it will take you past the first 2 pieces that I talked about. Remember in that law of that diffusion chart, the first 2 pieces, your ability to connect to the why. And that works for all of us as individuals, right? If I can explain to you why you need to do something, you know, it's that much easier for you to get up and go do it. Versus, oh, here's how you should do it, here's what. How many people, too young that. If you have kids, you'll realize, right? If I can explain to them why, you know, my job is a lot easier. Versus, you need to do this, you need to do that. It never happens. It never happens, right? But if I explain why, but I'm still learning, but if I can explain why, hopefully that'll be easier. Goes back to the first point, right? So that's very, very important for you to understand. And I encourage you to read this book. I'm sort of reading it to Start With Why. It's an interesting book. Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Okay, a couple of other things I want to quickly touch upon. As you get into the real world, as marketers, future things evolving, 4 things I want to call out. There's a lot of talk about AI, particularly important for customer experience, you know, in this RPA, a lot of these words which are thrown out there. You know, can I give you a better experience basis all the data that I have about you as a customer? So knowing about AI, good thing. Second, data privacy. I think the data law in India is about to be introduced or whatever, it will happen. So us as marketers, you better be careful. If somebody says, don't market to me, you cross that threshold, cross that line, it's a problem. As a marketer, you better know how to deal with it. That's the second piece. Third piece, customer experience. Within that, in my mind, I think the most important is connecting the dots. How do you connect the dots? Customer is speaking to me on support, they're on social media, they come to my website, they have bought all these products, these other products they bought but they've never used it. Oh my God, how do I connect all of this and know where the customer is likely going to go? And what is it that I can offer to them proactively? Customer experience. And finally, analytics, right? I think the most important this is pattern recognition, right? When you observe patterns as a marketer, you become successful. You become really successful. Oh, good, I can see this pattern. I think this makes sense. This message to this cohort of audiences, let me try this, okay? So that's that. Okay, anything else? I'm done with marketing. I want to share two other pieces, like I said. Any comments from marketing before we move on? All right? Okay, switching gears. Whew, lot of things on this slide, but let me quickly talk to you. You can read most of it. Few things which I think are important for you as you get out into the real world, or also as you are coming into B school. Skills, right? I think it's most, if you're thinking that 2 years in Myra, I'm done, all set, my life is all golden, you know what? Think again, okay? Continuously shape your skills. Even while you're on the job. We were speaking about it. You'll have a placement or whatever committee to help you now. 5 years from now, guess what? Who's your placement committee? Yourself. Okay? That's really, really important. Skills, one piece. Second, and I'm not going to read everything. You can see that on the text. I'm happy to leave the slides here too so you can take a look at it. Second, better understand the importance of teaming. I love the fact, I was in B school as well. I love the fact that you'll work in groups. Some of you will like each other. Some of you, happens. It'll happen everywhere. I'm sure all of you are adults, you know it. But success doesn't happen by you individually ever alone. Likewise, but failure usually happens by one person. Okay? But success, you better know how to handle that together as a team. Really important. And working with peers and leading teams. Right? You don't need to have a fancy title to be a lead, right? Everybody's told you that. I'm sure HR has told you that, but that's important. Change management. Every industry you go to is being disrupted. It's changing, including tech companies as well. Change will constantly happen. Figure out how you're going to deal with it. Really important. That's the other piece. I think this one is the most important one in my mind, adding value. But what's important about adding value? First, figure out what is valuable. That is hard. It needs intelligence. When you get into a scenario and you're speaking to him, you know what, I want to add value. Let's start. What is valuable? Nobody knows. Figure out what is valuable. I think you're 90% there. They are intelligent enough, right? We'll figure out how to add value. What is valuable is important in every scenario. Let me give you an example, right? If you're in a marketing function, there's some situation with the business. Oh, if I do this within this constrained period of time, I can add value to the team, to the business, to this, to that, etc. Identifying that requires your intelligence. Therefore, get onto that, which means you need to understand the domain, all of that stuff that I said. So that's important. Communication, I think. The last one, very important, build a point of view. We all have the same number of data points in front of us, yeah? There are 1 million data points, million data signals. Build a point of view. What do you think? Your manager tomorrow asks you, what do you think? Well, I'm not entirely sure. I think. Build a point. It may be right, wrong, could be, whatever. But your ability to assimilate that is critical. And driving a synthesis is critical. You go to some consulting companies, they'll say synthesis. Synthesize this. What does it mean? Putting your arms around all the elements of the conversation. Super important. Okay? Any comments? Just, I think, putting your arms around holistically. Any comments? Anyone? Anything else? Want to add? Disagree? Agree? Okay? All right. My last piece. Sorry. Final perspective. Right? This is the personal professional equation. I think you're all going to go out into the real world. Last piece of thing that I wanted to share with you. Attitude is far more important than skill. like I said earlier, you will keep learning new skills, yeah? But your ability to go into an environment and deal it with the right attitude and have the right level of flexibility, far more important. One, patience. I cannot emphasize the importance of this. Stuff may go down, but you know what, it'll come up. Your ability to tide that while being ready is what some people will call as luck. Oh, that person is very lucky. No. Person was diligent, waiting for the right time. That's the difference, right? Versus, you know what, it's not working, I've given up. It's very important, patience. Your values, beliefs, and ethics. This bothers me a lot. Everything has become great today, right? Oh, yeah, this is okay. You know what? How many cases? Yeah, there are a lot of cases, all sorts of issues, right? Do not compromise on that, ever, period, full stop, done. You know what? That's critical. And as business professionals, very, very important for you to understand that. You don't win always. In our changing world, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's okay, doesn't matter. But deal with it. Take charge, and then I think importance, right? Build a balance later on. You're still pretty young. But then as you get it, hopefully you all will remember. Remember to build a balance with your family. That's what's, rooting you end of the day. Your credibility and trust is really what stands for you tomorrow, right? So I'm done. So my request would be apply what you have learned. Nobody can say this is the perfect recipe and you're done, you're successful henceforth. Apply your learning. Second, own your destiny. Nobody else does that. By the way, it's as applicable to me. I remind myself all the time. You need to own it. What you get is an outcome of what you've done in the past. So own your destiny. Stop blaming the other person and say, you know what, that thing do, this school didn't do, that person didn't do. Tough luck. Right? And lastly, all the best. Okay, and easiest way, you can stay connected with me on LinkedIn. It's been a pleasure. So once again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm sorry I went over time, but thank you. Yeah.